3, 2, and welcome back. You're listening to the Jesse James Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Jesse.
I'm James.
And we're going into week 9.
Yeah, already. Flying by.
Yeah, the real NFL season is halfway over, I guess. Yeah, technically kind of right there at the
It's
midpoint.
just flying by like a COVID droplet in a train.
Speaking of coronavirus, little
Whoa.
corona extra virus
I didn't even catch that.
for you today.
Some extra for the Dallas Metroplex.
For the DFW Metroplex. We are
Definitely
once
plenty to go
again
around.
we're once again recording on a Thursday night. It worked out like that. So we've got Green Bay tearing up James's 49ers going on in the background.
Yep. Got our third stringers in there.
Devastated 49ers. I think we're going to get into that a little bit here too.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to bring up right off the top, or should we just get right into it?
No, man, it's Thursday. Niners are playing. It's my team, but it doesn't really look like my team now. So I'm happy. I got some wine. You said you got Rona, right?
Yep.
I got a little bit of Chuck here. But this is a little more expensive of the Trader Joe Vine.
Uh-huh.
This is the Reserve Sauvignon Blanc. Not Blanc, I'm sorry. Cabernet Sauvignon. Blanc.
I heard you must have a huge portfolio if you're drinking that.
No doubt.
Investment portfolio.
Yeah, I did a couple of options to get this one.
Yeah, so. Yeah. A couple buys, a couple sells, a couple puts.
Yeah, buy, sell. Yelling out of the finance room.
No, buy. James, wine. Reserve.
Buy, sell, reserve.
They don't let me in because I'm drinking poor beer.
Poor beer, mustache, look like Aaron Rodgers.
It is Movember.
That's true. It is Movember. Wow, November already. Christmas coming up.
For sure.
Crazy. But
yeah.
Thanksgiving comes first, so don't forget about that.
Yeah, but like I feel like people are just trying to get, like they're just trying to push okay, get Thanksgiving here, get Christmas here, just like get this year over with, like get it going, get it over with. Like all the stores had, like if you went into Lowe's, they had Christmas stuff up like well before Halloween.
Yeah, they had Christmas stuff up for a while, and the wife went down to I think it might have been Lowe's too, and like Target, and she was looking for some like discounts on some of the Halloween stuff because usually like right after Halloween, they've got all the stuff like super low, like super half price off or whatever. They've got it for low prices, and you can just like clear everything out. But when she got there, she said it was already cleared out, so they probably already started cutting prices on that stuff a while back.
They
like you said, they're trying to push this year out of the way, 2020.
Yeah, it's like they didn't even want to like keep it on the shelves for clearance. They just wanted to get it out of there and move on to Christmas.
Push that new product.
All right, well, let's get into the Week 8 recap, shall we?
Let's do it.
Is Dalvin Cook the best running back in fantasy football?
Yes. Right now.
I think he may be.
Well, what is he ranked right now, though? Because he's not ranked number 1. He's ranked 2. He's not ranked number 1. Who's number 1? Kamara, I believe.
Kamara is, but of course, Dalvin missed a game and a half.
Right. Yeah, and he's averaging 27 points per game.
Yeah,
but looking at the way that he tore up Green Bay last week, I mean, I don't know if there is a better running back. I mean, he was basically the whole team.
Alvin Kamara is a better receiver, and that may just be because of opportunity.
Right.
But but I don't know that Kamara is a better straight ahead runner than Dalvin Cook. Now, Dalvin Cook can obviously, catch the ball big time. He had a long touchdown catch as well. He's no slouch at receiving, but I think Alvin Kamara is the better receiving back. But man, Dalvin Cook is just on fire.
Yeah, I mean, he's just running lights out. But I'm sure some of it comes down to that Minnesota offensive line as well. I don't think New Orleans offensive line is as strong as Minnesota's if you compare the two. But I mean, he's a complete back. I mean, both those backs are studs. But Dalvin Cook is just playing out of his mind the last couple of weeks.
Would you trade Dalvin Cook for Derrick Henry straight up?
I would take Dalvin Cook.
You'd take Cook?
Yeah, I would take Cook. I mean, like I said, Cook is an all-around complete player. He'll catch the ball out of the backfield and the flat. Henry can catch the ball too, but Henry's just more of a downhill runner. If it's for me, I mean, both of these guys are getting a lot of volume. If it's me, I'm going to pick, being in an ESPN standard lead, I'm going to pick the guy that's getting most of the passes, and that's going to be Dalvin Cook. And I just feel like he's got more of that upside too, that lightning, that you can get. I mean, Henry, of course, he's a monster, dude. I mean, he's just
plowing. Yeah, he can have 200-yard games. He can have 2 or 3 touchdown games. But I mean, obviously, Dalvin Cook. So Cook had in this last week, and we should recap just a bit too. I'm a Dalvin Cook owner,
right?
And I faced James in fantasy this past week, and if I didn't have a great week. I had an okay week, but if I didn't have Dalvin Cook and his 48.6 points,
right, yeah,
I would not have won.
Let's just say you had an average game of his, which is pretty high compared to the rest of the league. It's 27 points, right?
Right.
He still wouldn't have won, I don't think.
Correct. No. I beat you by like 15, I think.
Right. So yeah, I mean, he has a monster game, and you put me into 3 and 5. So now I'm looking back at the scraps, and I'm hoping to stay in the playoff hunt. I'm in 6th right now in the league, so.
Well, now that I have you out of the way for the entire rest of the regular season, I hope you have good luck, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
I really do.
I got Mr. Window this week, so it's not going to be an easy task.
That's a tough matchup too.
He's got, my opinion, I think he's got probably one of the strongest teams in the league right now.
We need to check Jeff's power rankings because he's probably 3rd or 4th at the worst.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't doubt if he's number 1. I can't remember last time I checked, but
I think last time I checked, Jeff was number 1 still.
Oh yeah, that's right. Jeff came in number 1.
Yeah, right. And then Gareth is up there too, man. Gareth had another impressive week. He won. Yeah.
Gareth's been pretty good. He's got a solid team. He's picked up some players that I was pretty impressed of. I didn't think Gareth followed too much, but it looks like he does now.
Well, he drafted receiver really well. Somehow Gareth came out of the draft with Lamar Jackson as a top pick, and now that's a whole different conversation because he hasn't performed nearly how you drafted him to perform.
Right.
But he came out of there with Jackson, and then he has 4 just fire receivers with varying degrees of success this year due to injury. But he has Chris Godwin, DK Metcalf, who we'll talk about here in a moment.
Yeah.
Kenny Golladay, and Calvin Ridley. Good God.
Oh my gosh, that's a squad right there. Just think if they're all healthy, like Godwin. Godwin's been hurt most of the season.
Yeah, he's been hurt like at least half the games. Calvin Ridley's had some injury stuff.
Yeah.
Kenny Golladay got knocked out of this last week's game with 0 points. So it's been a little shaky, but I mean, those are some awesome receivers.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. So speaking of DK Metcalf, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, man. I mean, this is a dynamic duo if I've ever seen one. Tyler Lockett right now is the number 1 receiver with 148.5 fantasy points. Just over. Yeah. I mean, so Calvin Ridley number 2 at 148.1, right? So he's less than a point ahead of Calvin Ridley. But at number 3, DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
So 2 of the top 3 receivers are Seattle receivers. I mean, it's kind of crazy. No doubt Russell Wilson is having a crazy good quarterback season.
Yeah, and people are talking MVP.
For sure. And it's due in no small part to Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Man, but it's like, here's the thing. Tyler Lockett has maybe one of the best fantasy performances that I've seen, maybe period, 2 weeks ago.
Right.
15 receptions, 200 yards. 53 fantasy points.
Right. Never seen that.
And he follows it up this week with 4 catches for 33 yards, no touchdown, 7 points.
Right.
But of course, this week, DK Metcalf goes off. He has 12 receptions for 161 yards, drops a 40 burger. Is it like either or? Is it going to be up and down for both of these receivers? Like, can you never trust them to both have a great week?
Yeah, I mean that's the quandary that you get yourself into with these guys, and with these great quarterbacks too. It's kind of like the Pittsburgh situation. You got Ben Roethlisberger, and you've got 3 like valid receivers that could be like number 1 or a good like number 2 receiver on your roster. Yeah. You've got Claypool over there. You got Deontay Johnson,
right? And Juju still.
Yeah, you got Juju as the number 1. But yeah, any 3 of those guys could go off any day. And they've got James Washington too that'll go off once in a while. Yeah. So it kind of throws you into like I mean, you got to start, these players, like you got to start Juju, you got to start maybe Claypool if you got him in one of your slots, but it puts you into that situation where you're just like, man, anybody can go off, but this guy could like get like 5 points too. So yeah, with DJ Metcalf and then Tyler Lockett, I mean, both these guys are like amazing talents. They've got the best quarterback in the league right now, and they're scoring points like no other. So either of them could go off, but yeah, I mean, that's that risk you got to deal with. One of these guys may come out with just like 5 points just because that's the game flow. And Russell Wilson, he's a great quarterback, so he's just going to go to the open guy.
Yeah, he doesn't play favorites. Yeah, and as I'm looking at DK's season totals here, I mean, he's been very consistent. He's in double digits basically every single week. But the week before, week 7, he has a 2-catch game for 4 fantasy points, right? And that's the week that Tyler Lockett goes off for 3 touchdowns.
Right.
So, I mean, it seems to me that DK, at least the numbers show that DK so far this season is more consistent, because Tyler has had, let's see, 1, 2, he's had 3 single-digit fantasy outputs this year.
Right.
And DK has only had 1 single-digit fantasy output.
Yeah.
But do you have a preference if you had to pick one for the rest of this season?
Yeah, I mean, just like what you said, the point that you just brought up, Tyler Lockett's had more single-digit games, and just listening to things that Russell Wilson said about DK Metcalf, he's got kind of an affinity for this young kid, and the dude's a hard worker, and he's a freaking beast of a man. So, if I got to pick one of these guys, I'm going with DK Metcalf.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so fast forward to the 2021 fantasy season. Is DK Metcalf top 3 receiver?
Yeah, right. I think so. If I had to guess, we'll see. Let's see. Hold on. So we've got.
Are you taking
top
Devon?
3? I don't know. I would say top 5.
Okay, so hold on. Are you going to put Michael Thomas in there? I mean,
maybe at 5.
So Michael Thomas, through 8 weeks, has basically done nothing. He's helped you not at all.
Right.
I mean, remains to be seen. Maybe he just picks up where he left off.
Right. Maybe he comes back this week.
So let's say that Michael Thomas is in there.
Right.
Does DK end up being a top 3?
No, not top 3. I would say top 5.
Who's ahead of DK Metcalf next year?
I would say DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay, I'll give you that for sure. Davante Adams.
I would say Michael Thomas and Davante Adams. Yeah, at least those 3. Maybe Tyreek Hill is up there in that top 5. I mean, what is he? I think he's like 5 now.
He's 5 right now.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley.
But Tyreek is more of a long ball guy. I don't usually like to bet on those guys as being like top 3.
That's kind of how Lockett is.
With all the volume. Yeah, Lockett's up there too.
Tyreek and Tyler Lockett are very similar style receivers. Same body type. A lot of real speed in their game. They both have great hands. They're both like good receivers.
Yeah, they're both shifty and they're really good route runners. Another one, of course, if he stays healthy, I would say Julio Jones would be up there too.
Yeah, I mean,
but he's getting older. He may be on the verge of going downhill.
I think Julio is still top 10 next year, but I don't think Julio's in the top 5. I'll definitely give you.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah. I mean, I'll give you. I mean, I would take DK, DeAndre, Tyreek Hill. I'd take Davante Adams over Julio. I might take Tyler Lockett over Julio. Stephon Diggs is number 6 right now.
Right. Yeah. Diggs is killing it this year.
I mean, he's pretty damn good.
Yeah. Jake Allen's killing it too. He has slacked off a little bit recently.
Yeah, that's another topic too, man. I mean, like through the first 4 weeks, we were talking about how he's an MVP candidate. You were saying that basically you would trade almost any other quarterback to get him, but the last 4 weeks, man, he's been very average.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You say Jake Allen? Not Jake Allen.
Yeah. Is it?
No. Not Kyle Allen. Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
Jake.
Did I say Jake?
I think you did. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, I mean, he was killing it the first couple of weeks and then just kind of a little bit of slack off there. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. As the season goes, people are figuring him out. I don't know. Game's catching up to him already.
in his old age.
Yeah, in his old age, 9 weeks into the season.
So let's talk about another young quarterback. Tua Tagovailoa makes his debut last week against Miami, and nothing really.
Yeah, nothing. Not
Nothing
really
really to
too
speak
impressed
of.
about that one. Yeah.
He didn't do much. He didn't really have to do much. I think the defense had like 2 touchdowns, at least 1 touchdown.
Yeah,
And they
defense was
actually
killing.
win in their bout against the Los Angeles Rams
Yeah.
in Miami. But he has a 54 completion percentage. He only throws for 93 yards. He did throw for a touchdown.
Yeah.
He did fumble once,
Right.
but I guess the jury's still out on him. You have any thoughts
Yeah.
on Tua?
Not really. I mean, like I think I said, maybe it was a couple of episodes ago. I wasn't too understanding of why they kind of went away from Fitzpatrick when he was, kind of on a roll there, and Miami was on a roll. But I mean, Miami still won the game, and they're looking for the future, so that's why they put Tua in. But yeah, I mean, I would say right now it's too early to see, too
Yeah.
early to tell, too early to make any kind of judgment or conclusion here. But I'd say give him a little bit of time. I mean, it was his first game. He's probably got nerves like no other. But yeah, not too impressive of a first game. But it could have been, like you said, a little bit product of how the game played out. Defense
Yeah.
was killing. They didn't really have to throw the ball too much. So
Didn't ask him to do much, and probably
yeah,
too, despite the defense, regardless, they probably had a fairly vanilla game plan for him as far as
yeah,
just debut, rolling him out. They weren't going to ask him to just throw for 300 or 400 yards and
right.
rush and all. They were probably just going to try to be pretty straight down the middle with him and get his feet wet. Who knows? He might be a good bench stash. He has a decent playoff matchup. Weeks
Yeah,
13, no, I'm sorry, weeks 14, 15, and 16. Actually, Kansas City in week 14, New England in week 15, and then Las Vegas in week 16. So that's not great, actually. That's not a great
yeah,
lineup for the playoffs.
yeah. I would say this coming week against Arizona would be a pretty good matchup.
That should be a pretty good matchup. Yeah,
So maybe
I
we'll
agree.
see if he can do anything with that.
So
Yeah, we need to see more on that guy.
yeah, for sure. So as we wrap up our week 8 wrap up, I think we need to go off. I could do, like, what happened this week? I don't remember.
Yeah, you don't remember winning.
No, let's see. Who'd you go with? Who'd I go with? Yeah, let's see.
Well, so I went with the easy pick for me because he's on my team. He's on my squad. I went with
Called your own
Travis
shot.
Fulgham. Yeah, you went with Nyheim Hines, which was a dart throw, I thought.
Super long dart throw, like like almost unowned. Yeah,
it's kind of funny though. I actually thought about him too for one of my guys for going off.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know, it just felt like one of those games where he would get some receptions out of the backfield. But yeah, I mean, you picked the right guy, and then he's got only 5 carries, but he had 3 receptions, and those are the ones that counted for 54 yards and 2 touchdowns. And he did that little somersault. I don't know if you saw that after he scored that.
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, that was pretty.
See, that's what like that's what he's good at, man. I mean, yeah, he's not obviously. Yeah, somersaults. He's very good at somersaults. That's why they drafted him so highly. Now he's a really good receiver, and he's got some speed.
Yeah.
And if you get him in the open field, you can certainly make some progress with him for sure. I mean, your pick, Travis Fulgham, and by the way, this is very close.
Right.
Travis Fulgham ends up with 19.8 points. So that's I mean, you didn't steer anyone wrong by telling them to pick to put Fulgham in the lineup.
Right.
It just so happens that it was just not quite enough to match up with just the raw power of Nyheim Hines, who ended up with 21.2 points.
Raw power of your decision.
Raw power of my decision.
I mean, and Hines is kind of a weird one because like he had that first week where he went off for like 27.3 points.
Yeah.
And
it hasn't done hardly anything since then.
Yeah. And then like I remember I had like a waiver claim on him. I was going to go get him. But I think the prof went in and stashed him.
Went and got him. Yep.
Because what's his name? Marlon Mack went out with an injury for the season.
Yep. But they've got the rookie Jonathan Taylor, who's been pretty good for the most part, and most people knew that. But he was looking to be a pretty good waiver ad for sure, at least somebody that was going to contribute week in and week out. But since that week 1 performance, he's only had He's only had one other double-digit fantasy performance,
Right.
10 points in week 3. Everything else
Right.
has been single digit.
Ergo, your dart throw.
Dart throw. I'm gonna pause the show really quickly to let my cat out of the room because she's driving me crazy. 3, 2, and we're back. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know that that I would necessarily count on Naheem Hines like as any sort of consistent fantasy matchup,
Nah.
especially considering that they've got Baltimore this week. It's a tough defense, but I don't know. That was fun. That was
Could get some dump offs though.
Yeah.
because of Baltimore.
Yeah, they're gonna have
never
to.
know.
They're gonna have to try to put up some points some way or another. They're gonna have to lean on him. Maybe, who knows? You could use him this week on Go Off.
Yeah, right. Probably won't though.
So to recap that's going to be 3 weeks in a row for Maxon.
That's right. 3-0.
To 0. And go
3-0. Off you go.
Indeed, I did. Okay, so do you want to go ahead and make this week's Go Off predictions? Do you have somebody in mind?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to think about that. I actually don't have anybody in mind right now.
Well, I've got one. If you want to wait till the end of the show,
Who's your guy?
Well, I've got one, but I'm going to wait until you do yours.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Let's wait till the end of the show then.
Okay.
Let me think about it.
All right. So let's get into some of the main topics. We said off the top that the 49ers have a really healthy squad and everyone's ready to go. They're firing on all cylinders.
Yep. Same team from last year.
No, they've had some bad luck, man, with injuries and with COVID. So what's up with your Niners?
Yeah, dude, my Niners are just falling down into like some prehistoric mud pit. Yeah, man. I mean, we got so many injuries going on, and then we've got the COVID thing affecting people. Brandon Ayuk was out today because of the COVID thing. Everybody that came in contact with Kendrick Bourne, I think, was not able to play. But yeah, I mean, the Niners have an unbelievable injury report. I read something today from Sporting News that said it was $80 million in contracts on the injury report.
Golly.
So if you think about that,
yeah, so
that's pretty unreal.
Well, yeah, so this one obviously plagued you as well this past week against me. You had Jimmy Garoppolo in your super flex position. He gets hurt early on, only gave you a couple points. George Kittle seems to be
1.76, I think.
Yeah, sorry about that, buddy.
To be exact.
George Kittle.
And then you got Dalvin Cook going for 48.
Yeah, that was a big help. I think it started with Raheem Mostert early on, right? He's on the IR.
Right.
George Kittle, their all-star tight end, is on the IR.
Garoppolo, you just mentioned. Richard Sherman.
Brandon Ayuk
is with the COVID right now. He's got the COVID situation. Maybe that'll be just 1 week. Solomon Thomas tore his ACL. Nick Bosa tore his ACL.
Yep.
D Ford
has
a back injury. Possibly he'll be back.
Debo Samuel is out.
Debo Samuel's out with a hamstring, I believe.
Tevin Coleman is out.
Yep, Coleman's out.
You mentioned Kendrick Bourne. Oh, their other really good running back, Jeff Wilson Jr. He's out too.
Yeah, he's out.
God, how are you? Do you guys even have 53 guys out there? I think I counted like 34.
They must be grabbing people at the stadium, giving them like COVID tests and just putting them on the field, dude. I don't know.
Well, they expanded practice squads to 16. I think it's usually 10, which was actually surprising to me. I'm pretty sure that the standard practice squad is only 10 people. And I don't know, for some reason, like when I was always like thinking about practice squad, I imagined like 40 guys out there for each team. And like every day they're just scrimmaging each other, like waiting because they might get called up to the main team. But yeah, their practice squad is only like 10 people. They expanded it to 16 this year. So they're obviously pulling off the practice squad in some forms, but
yeah, for sure.
You guys are crazy, man. Crazy.
Tonight, I don't know any of these names on these jerseys, man. Except for Nick Mullins.
Yeah, Nick Mullins. Yeah, he played for him a bit last year. Listen, is Garoppolo injury prone? He's been hurt every single year that he's played, that he's started. Yeah, the ACL.
Yeah, it seems like it. And I got a feeling that he may not be back next year. I don't know. That's just a hunch that I got. And I think I've heard people talking about it too. But I think Shanahan's just like kind of done with it.
This would be his third year, I believe, of that. I mean, he got one of those contracts that at the time, for a
Yeah.
brief time, was the top quarterback, contract, and I think it was probably a standard 4-year deal. I can't remember how much money it was, but I believe that this would be the third year. Next year would be the fourth year. So I think that it's probably paid out to the point where they can just cut him if they want to, or trade him, or whatever.
Yeah, I think they're definitely going to weigh their options after this year because, I mean, if you watch the games too, it's just there's some that he's just missing, and he looks kind of jittery in the pocket. He doesn't look, not what you want to see out of your starting quarterback sometimes. I mean, but he doesn't play as bad as some people put him out to be. He does make some good throws. He's got accuracy. It's just sometimes he gets a little bit jittery in the pocket, and like you said, he's injury prone. So
Yeah, I don't know if I, I've never been super impressed with him. Um, he's always just been kind of like straight down the middle, pretty straightforward. Not that he's a bad quarterback, but I mean, his
yeah,
performance last year in the Super Bowl was, to me, kind of indicative of just kind of who he is. I mean, he kind of had a pretty good game, and then just he wasn't able to get him there in the
yeah,
fourth quarter when it counted. I
yeah.
mean,
I've
give him
never thought
credit.
of him. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, he got a good team to the Super Bowl, so he's at least worth
Right.
something. I've just never seen him as maybe like a full franchise quarterback. And obviously Bill Belichick thought the same thing. I mean, he wouldn't have given him up. I think he got a
Right.
second round pick for him when they traded him to San Francisco, but I don't think
Right.
Belichick would have given him up if he thought that he was like a true franchise quarterback.
Right. Yeah. And I agree with Belichick. I don't think he's what we paid for him at least.
Right. All right. So let's see. So that's your Niners. You have on here on the run sheet, C-Mac is back.
Oh yeah. That
CMC,
guy.
Christian McCaffrey. Has he ever done
Who-
anything good?
I don't think so. Has he ever carried the ball?
Uh, that's pretty much all he's done ever since he landed on the Panther. Now he's another running back that got paid this year, or
Yeah.
this offseason. He
And
didn't
injured
get,
right away.
he didn't get near the contract that Zeke got, but he got a pretty good contract. Um,
Yeah.
but he is so he's scheduled to come back. Has he been
Yeah,
activated?
he's been out 6 weeks.
He's not
I'm not sure if
activated
he's
right now. He's not
technically
activated
been
right now.
activated yet.
He went out in week 2.
I believe the word likely was used by the coach. What's his name? Pat Rule. For him playing this week. So if you got him, I mean, I know if it was me, if I had him, I'd probably be putting him in my lineup right now.
If he's
But
active, you're
some
starting.
people are kind of shaky, though. When somebody comes back from injury, I mean, it could be kind of a little risky play. But according to the coach, they're going to play a little bit of Mike Davis too, so he'll get in there, he'll get some snaps. But if McCaffrey's in there, he's going to get the ball and he'll get it early and often.
I kind of feel like for the most part these days, when somebody's either on IR or they're just out for a game or whatever, if they're healthy enough to actually be active and they're going to start, they're going to be put in the lineup, then I feel that speaks pretty highly. That gives me enough confidence to go ahead and start a person like that. So I mean, if they say that yes, Christian McCaffrey is activated, he'll be active for this game, and unless they say something like he's going to be on a super, super limited touch count. And even then, I kind of don't even believe that because that's just BS. But,
Yeah.
you know, a smart coach is not going to, activate a player most of the time just kind of as a decoy, right? Like if CMC is going to be active, I'm putting him in my lineup and I'm definitely starting him for sure. Now, I know that we discussed before too with Mike Davis's performance and how good he's been filling in for CMC. I don't see any way that they can just throw him, back to the sideline and make it like a 90-10 split like it's been for the last, several years between CMC and whatever other backup running backs are there. So I think Mike Davis probably gets, 30% of the workload from here on out, but I still think CMC is a good start.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think CMC is going to get the majority of the carries, but yeah, like you said, Mike Davis is not going to just totally go away. He's going to come in there, he'll get his carries too, but yeah, it's going to be nothing that he's been doing in the last couple of weeks. But yeah, I mean, the way that Carolina's kind of set up when CMC's in there, they run a lot more. I mean, it just makes more sense. I think they had these stats where the first couple of weeks that he was in, they passed the ball 56% of the time. But ever since Mike Davis took over, they started passing almost 70% of the time. So
Yeah, yeah,
with CMAC in there, they're gonna run the rock. That's for sure.
yeah. And I mean, and yeah, like we said, he was one of the. I mean, CMC was one of those guys that was just getting monstrous workloads over the last year and a half, 2 years. So I mean, especially now that they've paid him, so he's theirs and he's their long-term investment. So I don't see
Right.
them taking the approach of they're just going to give him like whatever it is, 300 or 400 touches per season anymore. Like you can't do that and expect him to last any longer than another year or two. He's bulked up and he's strong, but he's still a small guy. Um, so I would figure that the smart money has trying to protect your franchise investment and trying to make sure that he can stay productive for you for the next 2 to 3 years at least for the duration of his contract.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and if you own him in fantasy, of course you're going to put CMAC in there. And I think this might bring up the value of Bridgewater a little bit. Their third down success rate. This is just kind of a cool stat that I saw. The third down success rate is only 32% with Mike Davis in there, which is like next to last in the
Ah,
NFL. But when they had Christian McCaffrey in there, it was 56%. So that's like 24 more percent of a success rate on third down.
yeah,
That's because they're doing those little dump offs to Christian
yeah.
McCaffrey.
He's
He's a crazy good receiver, as everybody knows.
one of the best.
So that might bring up Teddy Bridgewater's value a little bit because he can get those dump offs to McCaffrey, and you know what he can do once he gets the ball. So that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, no doubt. Who's a better receiving back, Kamara or CMC?
Mm, I would say CMC for me.
Wow.
You like Camaro?
That's so tough.
I guess I mean
Yeah.
there's two aspects to that. Receiving, as in, okay, a route runner line up as a receiver and kind of like do things as a receiver would do, or is it more of like catching the ball and then after the catch, like yards after the catch ability? Because I think if you for me, if I'm measuring both of those, I would say CMC because I think, and even the Matt Rule, I think that's his name, Matt Rule, right? Not Pat Rule. So, anyway,
Matt
the
Rule.
coach of Carolina, he even came out and said that CMC could easily come out and just line up as a receiver if they needed him to,
Yeah.
because he's that good of a catcher, so pass catcher. So I don't know. If it's me, I'm taking CMC.
Yeah, I don't know. Yards after the catch and just juke ability. Ugh, golly, I mean, it's hard because CMC's good there.
Yeah,
I
Kamara's a
mean,
beast too,
just
though.
it's hard to really kind of differentiate and break down the different parts of their game. But I guess just overall as a back, as a fantasy back, I lean towards Kamara, but you're certainly not going to go wrong either way.
Yeah, I think there's more excitement in Kamara to me.
Yeah, he's electrifying, but so is
Yeah,
CMC, man.
CMC is too, but he's more like a, I don't know, like a straight runner almost.
Yeah,
Kamara, I want to say, has some like liquidity in his run.
I don't know,
Like he's
man.
fluid.
CMC's got some quick twitch.
Yeah, yeah,
He's got some moves. He got some wiggle
they're
for
both
sure.
ridiculous. If you got him in your lineup, you're lucky. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Hey, so something that wasn't on the run sheet, but I know that we had talked about bringing up before would be rookie Detroit running back DeAndre Swift. As long as we're talking about kind of young
Mm,
running backs here,
mm,
um, I didn't know really what to think of him coming into the season, and
yeah,
he was one of those that a lot of people were like, "Oh, he's going to be so awesome," and then a lot of other people were kind of like, "Oh, whatever. He's just another Detroit running back."
right.
Detroit, I mean, honestly, since Barry Sanders has not had a good record of using or drafting or playing running back talent. I mean, they just haven't. But DeAndre Swift has slowly kind of worked his way into some pretty good fantasy relevance. Out of
Yeah.
the last 5 games, I'm sorry, out of the last 4 games, because they were on bye week 5, double-digit fantasy points in 3 of those 4,
Right.
including a 27-point effort in week 6. He looks like a pretty good fantasy option.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. Definitely if they have a good matchup, it looks like like you said, if you look at the last 3 games, they played Jacksonville, Atlanta, and Indianapolis. Indianapolis is a tough battle for anybody. That defense is super stout. And he only got 6 carries on that one. He got 3 receptions. And he's in Atlanta. You know, he had 9 carries and 4 receptions, and then Jacksonville he got 14 carries and then 3 receptions. He went over 100 yards in that one. So kind of matchup wise, it looks like the performance is a little different there. Jacksonville being like one of the worst teams out of those 3. He had a really good performance out of that one. But yeah, I mean, with the Lions and Matt Stafford, they like to dump the ball off a lot to the running back.
Yeah.
So a guy with that kind of talent and ability to kind of get those yards out after the catch, you know, that's somebody that you would want to have on your team. That's for sure. Yeah, I mean, I would take DeAndre Swift as an RB2 if I could.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've heard though, like the only downfall is that, at least the word on the street is that Detroit really, really loves Kerryon Johnson still as a pass blocker, and they're not totally sold on DeAndre Swift as a pass blocker. And you know, to be honest, kind of regardless of your talent level, if you can't pass block in today's NFL, you're not going to see the field. It's it's just part of it because this is a passing league. So whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Yeah,
but I mean,
totally.
it could account for I mean, it's almost like if Kerryon Johnson's on the field, they're going to be passing because I mean, like they don't really run Kerryon Johnson anymore. He's obviously the much worse fantasy running back, or just real life running back. But yeah, that's one of those things that I guess is kind of hindering him just a little bit, maybe from being like a full on 3-down back. And that's something that he can certainly improve on as the season goes on and then into his, second and third year. But we'll see how that plays out. I don't know if Kerryon Johnson's on this roster much longer than this year too. So
yeah, I mean that's the tough part when the reality kind of splits with the fantasy because they got to win games. They got to have the guy in there that's going to keep their quarterback standing up,
Right.
And I think the same thing happened with I think that was kind of the issue in the beginning with the Aaron Jones era in Green Bay. I think they had Jamal Williams in there a lot more because
they did
better pass blocker.
They liked him as a pass.
So of course Aaron Jones has the elite talent, and you want to get him the ball, but if you can't go in there and protect Aaron Rodgers, dude, they're not going to let you get in there.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, well, that wraps up the main topics for this week. But before we leave, we have to do the go off. Go off. Are you ready for it?
Hello,
can you hear me?
I'm an internet gay.
All right, so that wraps up all the main topics for this week, but we wouldn't let the good listener go without giving our picks for go off. Who is going off for you? This is a person that you're staking your entire fantasy reputation on.
Yes.
And you're telling the good listener to put them in your lineup, and you want them to win and be prosperous. So who do you have this week for go off?
Right. This is a guy that's been struggling all year.
Oh,
this is a guy that only threw for 187 yards last week. He had a fumble. He had an interception. He looked like absolute crap against the Philadelphia Eagles. This is the New York Giants quarterback, Mr. Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones.
Who do they play?
The Washington football team.
Oh, that's a tough defense too, man. This is bold.
Yeah, I think that, there's been a lot of talk about this guy. He's been turning over the ball a lot. I think this week is when he gets his stuff together. He turns it around, and I think he airs it out against the Washington football team. Danny Dimes is my guy.
Okay. All right. You know what? I actually, for like when I was looking for a go off, I for a split second kind of looked at him with a side eye and was like, I mean, because there was 2 or 3 games last year, his rookie year, where he went off. I mean, like 4 touchdown games, and so he's capable of it if he could ever put it together. Pretty bold still, because you're right. He's looked like crap, and he's facing a pretty good Washington defensive front. But
he can come out with the single digits. Who knows? But I think he pulls it together this week against Washington. I think Washington's got a good run defense, and they've got a solid defensive front. But if New York Giants offensive line can keep it up just enough for him to find his wideouts, which are all healthy now. He's got Sterling Shepard back in there. He's got Golden Tate as well. And of course, he has Slayton there on the outside. But I think he can pull it together this week, and he can put up some big numbers.
All right. All right. Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones, it is for
Danny
you.
Dimes.
Okay, so I'm not going to pick a quarterback or a running back this week. I'm actually going to call my own shot because I'm an owner of this receiver. Okay.
All right.
I think Mike Evans goes off this week at home against the New Orleans Saints. And of course, this is a little. I'm gonna proclaim this as a little bold on my part because Antonio Brown is set to make his debut as a Tampa Bay Bucs wideout. Yeah. Right. I think the consensus is that AB is probably not going to get a ton of run this week, but I don't know. He's going to be there, and I don't know if he's healthy and he's active, you might as well use him. We haven't quite heard a full status update on Chris Godwin and his broken finger, so I don't know if he's playing or not. A lot of people like to think that Mike Evans can't do anything good if Chris Godwin is playing. And to be honest, I think it's all just a bunch of malarkey. Antonio Brown or Chris Godwin, or is he hurt? Whatever. Mike Evans is and has always been an excellent top 10 fantasy wide receiver. And he probably just as much as anybody else in the game is capable of having that, 40-point game where he scores 2 to 3 touchdowns, where he has 150 yards. And he hasn't done it this year. His high yardage total is 122 yards in week 4. He has had a touchdown in almost every game. But I just full on believe in Mike Evans. I just think, I don't believe any of the beat reporter stuff or the rhetoric or whatever. I just think that he's a badass fantasy receiver. He's got a great fantasy quarterback. I think they're going to need to put up points against New Orleans this week. So Mike Evans goes off.
All right. Well, that'll be exciting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we're not playing each other this week, so maybe we can kind of relax a little bit. Although we both have tough matchups this week. So
definitely.
All right, man. Is there anything else that you want to impart to the good listener before we take a break and circle back around for next week?
No, man. All I got to say is play your most talented people. Put them in the lineup. That's the number one rule to stick by.
That's always good advice.
Never stop improving your lineup. Never stop improving your team. Always work to find the best guy available.
I was going to say there was one, so full disclosure, James is sitting at, are you 3-5 right now?
Yep. 3-5.
And you're like right there at that 6th place position. I think you're tied at 6th place with one other person. And sixth place in our league gets you into the playoffs. 7th place and farther back and you're out. But there was a year, I swear it had to have been 4 or 5 years ago, that I feel like that you kind of had a very similar season and were like kind of on the verge of even making the playoffs. And that was the year that you ended up winning a championship with whatever it was, familiar. 6 wins or something like that.
Yeah.
Does that seem familiar to you?
Yeah, I think so. That was quite a few years back. I think I was actually living in California at the time.
5-6 years maybe.
I remember like maybe even talking to you on the phone, like back when people actually talked on the phone.
Oh yeah.
About like, nah, man, my team's shit, dude. Fuck this. I'm over. My team's over. I'm giving up. And you're like, nah, man, you never know.
I feel like that a lot of people, they get off to a bad start or, here at the halfway point, they have 2 or 3 wins and they just get so discouraged and they stop looking for waiver wire gold. They stop trying to improve their team like that. And, the reality of it is, in most leagues, if you're in the top half or if you're in the top 6 or whatever, you can make the play. And man, once you make the playoffs, it's like all bets are off because you're toward the end of the regular NFL season. There's so many injuries. Any of those injuries can just pop up and occur in a single playoff game, which can give you a leg up and you can make it to the next round. I mean, so even if you're sitting in the middle of the pack or if you're at the bottom, I mean, unless you're just absolutely winless at this point through week 8, man, keep fighting, keep looking for waiver gold. Always listen to our advice because we have all the best advice, no matter what.
No doubt.
And there is a chance that you can make the playoffs and then all bets are off.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, and that's where the parallel comes between fantasy and reality football. It's kind of like almost at this time right now, at the middle of the season, you're getting towards the fantasy playoffs. Mm-hmm. Everybody has been fine tuning their team like the whole time. And just like in regular football, they're constantly, adjusting their play calls, adjusting
Right.
their strategies, putting the best players up into the lineup, swapping people out, so that you're constantly trying to improve the whole time. And then towards the end, when you hit that playoff run, that's when you get that momentum. And it's all about momentum in regular playoffs, like in real
Yep.
football, and in the fantasy playoffs. It's all about that momentum by the time by the time the playoffs hit. So
Just ask the New
that's
York
where the
Giants.
one parallel
They did
is.
it twice.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Well, yeah, man. So keep plugging away, keep chugging, and keep trying to turn your roster over and look for those little bitty bits of gold. And week to week, it's like you may be at a disadvantage. You may be predicted to have a losing week, but if you can find that one player, I mean, because look, every single week there are players that are completely unowned or on your bench that end up going off. And if you can just kind of study it up and try to really dial it in and get lucky and find one of those players, you can get a win. And that's all it takes, is to kind of establish your momentum and keep it moving.
Yep. 1 week at a time.
All right, man. So that's going to do it. This has been the Jesse James Fantasy Podcast going into week 9. We want to thank all of our good listeners, and just make sure that you keep subscribing and listening, or don't listen at all. Don't subscribe.
Just look at
Don't
us.
do any of it. And we'll probably just keep recording all the same. So until next time, have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Adios.
Later.